Welcome once again to Errors of Today's Church. And today we shall be asking a trending question. Who should take over the leadership of a church when the general overseer or the founding pastor or the senior pastor passes on? I ask that question again. Who should take over the leadership of a church when the general overseer or the senior pastor or the founding pastor passes on? Of course, we know that the leadership of a church or a ministry is a spiritual affair and therefore should not be tainted with the brushes of nepotism, greed, and inordinate ambition. But quite recently, something happened. Fountain of Life Church lost the general overseer. Let's give a background to the story. First and foremost, he lost the wife with whom he had founded the ministry, Bimbo Odukoya. She passed on as an aftermath of a aeroplane crash, Sosoliso plane that crashed some years ago. So what did he do? After mourning the wife, he remarried. Recently, not too long ago, the wife passed on. As if that was not bad enough, his twin sister passed on too. It proved to be the last straw that would break the camel's back. He too passed on. And now, recently, just a few days ago, the leadership of the church announced that his son, Pastor Jimmy Odukoya, a Nollywood actor, a Hollywood actor, I would say, has become the senior pastor by appointment of the Board of Trustees. The question then is, who should succeed the general overseer or the founding pastor? Must it be somebody from the family? Must it be the wife? Must it be the son? Or should it be from another source? Now, we must ask this question in relation to existing protocols. In the Catholic Church, when a Reverend Father passes on, their bosses, their superiors will simply post a replacement. Case closed. The same happens in the Anglican Church. Similarly, in the Methodist and Baptist Church, also the Presbyterian churches. So you can say simply that the evangelical churches, the so-called conservative churches, do not have issues of succession at all. Of course, there are once in a while you'll find some people saying, hey, post somebody to us that is from our own dialect or from our own village or from our own community. It happens. But other than that, the siblings or the wife do not take over, because in these churches, the wives are subjugated, they're completely subjugated. In 1995, Bishop Anayo Hayford Iloputife was gruesomely murdered in cold blood. After a lot of back and forth tussle, the wife, Nkechi, took over. Apostle Gabriel Oduyemi passed on, Wonder City Church, Ajah. After some tussle, the wife took over. Archbishop Benson Idahosa, the Apostle General, the foremost evangelist of the century, he passed on in March 1998. After a tussle and some back and forth movement, the wife, Margaret, took over and became not just a bishop, but an archbishop, the first female Pentecostal archbishop in Africa. Number 4, when T.B. Joshua passed on, there was a lot of infighting. The disciples of T.B. Joshua thought that it was their turn to be in charge. At the end of it all, the wife took over. World famous Daddy Ezekiel of Christian Pentecostal Mission passed on a few months or years ago. Before even he passed on, the wife was already situated to take over as the national and international coordinator of the ministry. So on his passing, the wife fully assumed leadership. Archbishop Lanre Obembe of El Shaddai Bible Church passed on. On his demise, his wife took over. When Primate Emmanuel Adejobi of the Church of the Lord Aladura passed on, his wife took over. When Prophet Ajanaku of Christ Revival Victory Chapel passed on, the wife took over. In Abundant Life Gospel Church, when the pioneer and the founder, Bishop Kola Onaolapo, passed on, the wife took over. In Redemption Ministries Worldwide, Port Harcourt, when Pastor Stephen Akiola passed on, the pioneer, the founder, the wife, Pastor Matilda Akiola, took over. In Rema Deliverance Ministries worldwide, when the founder, Bishop Ato Nwachukwu, passed on, the first son, Dr. Chidozie Nwachukwu, took over. So we can go on and on and on and on. And we now ask this question: must the leadership fall into the hands of the wife or the son or a relation of a general overseer who passes on? Must it? Is there anything biblical we can lay hold on and say, yes, this is the basis for this? Is this human nature playing its ugly role? Or is there a parallel in scripture that we can draw important lessons from? That is the subject of today's show. Before we leave you with an impression that all churches do the same, we must note some two major exceptions. Redeemed Christian Church of God. When the founder, Akin Dayomi, died, he did not hand over to his wife. Rather, he nominated Pastor E.A. Adeboye to take over, and he did. When Reinhard Bonnke, the Apostle General of our time, was about going, God led him to appoint Dr. Daniel Kolendo, a father, an author, a missionary evangelist, a writer, a complete evangelist in every dimension, to take over from him. But Dr. Daniel was not related to him in any way, just like Pastor E. Adeboye was not related to Akin Dayomi in any way. So these are two notable exceptions. So we now ask, why do Pentecostal churches find it so convenient to appoint their wives or to have their wives take over? And why do the wives so easily usurp authority and become the heir of the dynasty of the general overseer in a church environment? We know that it happens in companies, but not all the time. But bringing into the church the things that happen in the secular is very, very unfair. For instance, if a doctor were to pass on, his wife doesn't become a medical doctor because he was married to her. It's not sexually transmitted. If a pilot were to pass on, his wife does not become a pilot because she was married to the man. No, it doesn't happen that way. In the same way, if a transporter was to pass on, his wife doesn't become a transporter by virtue of that. So why does it happen in the church? We found out that there are about a few reasons why it happens. Number one, mistrust of the successor. Pastors who do not trust their deputies, the people close to them, will most likely not allow them to take over. They will make it difficult for them to take over when he is gone. Number two, loss of revenue. They are afraid that, the standard of life they have etched for themselves, they are created for themselves, will depreciate, will deteriorate if somebody else outside the family becomes the general overseer of the church. Then they are also afraid of loss of influence. They want to be the only influential power block in the church. They want every eye to be on them and nobody else. They feel it's their property, so they want to continue to maintain that influence over the group. But is it really their property or God's property? Who owns the church? These are questions we are asking. So, Pastor Jimmy Odukoya has become the general overseer of Fountain of Life Church, and there are more that will happen in the same way. The question is it biblical? Is it right? We find that Moses did not appoint any of his sons to become leader of Israel. We find that Eli wanted his sons to be in charge, and they failed. Israel rejected them. God rejected them. We find that Samuel wanted his sons to take over. God rejected them, and Israel rejected them. We find that several attempts made by different people to have their family perpetuate leadership did not work. But we also find that David handed over to his son. We also find that his son handed over to his son. So there was a kind of perpetuity. But that's a promise made to David. Do we say that all such churches that hand over to their children or to their wives has the same promise from God? Is it believable? What exactly is going on in the church? We are not here to prescribe any solutions. We are here to ask questions. Now we have asked the question, is there any biblical basis for families to perpetuate leadership over the church that their father founded? Is there any biblical basis for it? What do you think? Tell us your opinion. We'd like to hear from you. And from us here at Errors of Today's Church, please, 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 write, share, and subscribe. God bless you.